All right, guys. Well, it's 4 in the morning right now, and so I've been working on the film all night. I think we got the first 10 minutes done. At least like the draft to give it to the secondary editor. And it's like an exciting time because we're getting 10-minute increments done probably each day now moving forward. And we're trying to have it done by October 2nd. If you're a sponsor, you would be invited to the premiere. And, I got your driver's licenses to my attorney. Do I think I'll be done by the 2nd? Probably not, just knowing me. I'm horrible with deadlines, yet I give them all the time. It's like probably one of the shittier aspects of my personality. And I realized that people would be traveling from all over the world to come to this premiere at my friend's house, and it's going to be a special night. What I will do is I'll probably give, 10 days before we're actually going to premiere it, so that people have time to travel. But we're working hard. I might be able to start uploading, 10 minutes daily. I have the first 10 minutes done probably by tomorrow. I'm pretty happy with it. We need to give it to Jim to, sign off on, because I trust his opinion. So anyway, it's 4 in the morning right now. And I'm fuck, man. I got to give them a video. I told them I would, because I do that. I'll promise you, I can make holes in walls with my eyes. I promise. I'll show you next week. My friend's like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah. For real. And then it's next week, and I'm just like, dude, let's get drunk. I don't want to do it anymore. They're like, what do you mean, let's get drunk? You said you were going to burn holes in walls with your eyes. Now you just want free beer? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And that's usually why I got in fist fights when I was in my teenage years. But, Sentinella State Prison series, people keep saying, go back to that. We're getting to the end of it, to be honest. It's towards the end. I may be able to wrap it up in one more video. Probably 2 more videos, right? But it's really good. Had the whole finale, and I'm just I don't know. I'm not feeling doing that right now. So I was thinking, but I want to give them something good. And this story in particular is pretty good, I was just okay, let me pull one out that's one of my better ones so that everybody is happy. But this is juvenile delinquency. Quite a bit happened from the time I was, 16 to 18. Well, I guess juvenile delinquency would be 16 to 19. Really, it would be when I stabbed the skinhead, ran out of the courtroom, all those weird stories. I think I had started talking about all that in the Florida series. I think I talked about some of the stuff leading up to going to Florida. Remember when I went up to the homeless commune and guys were, they were making love. They were butt fucking. I could not say it. Jesus. So I'm pretty sure that I covered some of that, and I'm disorganized, but 2 series that I know that I'm going to focus on moving forward is what really happened, because there's quite a bit in that one, and juvenile delinquency. And then of course there'll be Florida, China, things that I can, extend in the psychedelics. There's different ones. But this juvenile delinquency, there's a lot of ground to cover, and I think that this story, the whole thing about Justin, the kid that was looking at child pornography on my parents' computer, I think that was a pretty epic situation and everything that built up to it. So that's what I'm going to do. I didn't want to do a video tonight, but fuck, I can't do that to you, and I can't go to sleep when I do that sometimes, when I'm just so beat. I'm just I'm going to go on Pornhub. I'm going to beat off to whatever's on the timeline. I might go down some rabbit hole. Holy shit, that guy's dick is big. Why does that chick have one? Wait, what the fuck? What? No, I didn't look. No, I don't know. Someone else used my phone, babe. It's fucking disgusting. Ugh. And then I passed out with like nut on my thigh. And I wake up and I feel like shit. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't do a video. And then I'll like sheepishly, you know, get on my Gmail and I'll just see this barrage of you cum guzzling fuck. I'm like, ugh. All right, I'll do a monologue. And it's like, I don't want a fucking monologue. I want a video. All right. So let's get into this. This will, I think, make it to YouTube at some point. Maybe, if I decide to keep doing YouTube. I've been very abused on there. And I know I must sound like a fucking bitch at this point, but I don't know. I'm just being on. I'm just keeping it real. That whole crowd can be a little testy. So, where we had left off last time, this shit was crazy. So, just to bring you up, I do this little recap. Where we had left off last time, I had a very bad cocaine problem when I was in high school. You know, from the first time that I'd gone on the bleachers with this girl, these girls that were snorting coke out of a bullet. At that point, I was doing PG-13 drugs. I put the bullet in my nose. It was orgasmic, you know? I was like, yeah, I don't think it's too late that, I start doing professional water polo. And the girls were like, oh my God, water polo is cool. I look so good in a hooded sweatshirt. I'm like, oh my God, you do. And then, we come down and it's like, ugh. Look disgusting in a hooded sweatshirt. I can't believe I said that kind of shit. I take back those compliments. And then shit's like awkward with those people. But anyway, I'd gotten into cocaine very, very heavily in high school. And like, I don't care what anybody says. I was doing $100 worth of cocaine a day in high school. That is fucking severe drug habit when you're that age. I'd wake up, I'd have blood stains on my pillows. My mom would be like, are you on cocaine? I'd be like, no. I didn't really talk like that, but I'd be like, no, I'm not, no. Cocaine? What are we, in Bolivia? My mom's like, well, you have these little, quarter-sized blood stains on your sheets. And, Susan says that her son is on cocaine. And he's actually out somewhere in the north side of Jersey sucking dick for something called freebase. I'm like, well, I don't do that. I just snort it. Nobody sucks dick to snort blow and talk to people about how they have ambitions outside of sucking dick. My mom's like, oh, okay. And my mom was like that. Obviously that's hyperbolic and, but my mom was like I could tell. One time the guy that was living with me, because remember I had adopted that, my parents had adopted that kid because he got beat up because he was in his Jaguar, or his Mustang, remember? The infamous 4-door Mustang. It was a 2-door Mustang. It was a Mustang, though, for sure. And the passenger side had gotten ripped off. Right as we had taken mushrooms, we get up to his house, and he starts getting beat up in the rain. It was definitely some shit you'd see on MTV in, like, 89 or something. It was like, it had a music video quality to it. And I remember one time him and I, when we had first gotten into smoking heroin, chasing the dragon, the shit that you, like, see in the movie Traffic, lame. I'm not saying you should be injecting it. I'm just saying you are a fucking bitch if you don't. I've never understood how people smoke it. It drives me nuts. I'm like, oh my God, you're wasting so much of it. What am I talking about? That sounds like I'm romanticizing heroin, and that's not my intention at all. I was just getting into character. But my mom had walked in while we were hitting this heroin on tinfoil, and she's like, what are you guys doing? Why are you smoking off tinfoil? And she doesn't talk like Karina. Your dick stinks. She's not that. But she has a loopy quality to the way that she speaks. And she's like, what are you guys doing? Why are you smoking off tinfoil? We're smoking tobacco. My mom's like, really? I'm like, yeah. It's a new thing. All those crazy kids are doing it. She's like, huh. All right. And, the guy that was living would be like, I love you, Mrs. Leone. She'd be like, I love you too. And she, and if you called her Mrs. Leone, you could pretty much get away with everything. And we did get away with everything. We smoked crack in front of her. We smoked heroin off tinfoil, and she was okay with that. So cocaine addiction had taken me from the PG-13, doing mushrooms or ecstasy or, doing the shit that high school kids do, to being like a full-blown hype, a dope fiend. In high school, I was, I think, a pioneer in that, like now, like I'll go to an AA meeting in Santa Barbara and I like, I'll see someone that has like a drill sticking out of their forehead and I'll be like, meth? Yeah. How'd you know? I was doing that shit 20 years ago and I had a drill bit stuck in my head too. I just took it out. Oh, how many days you got, man? 9. Thinking about taking the drill out. I'm like, don't do that. Wait about 60. Don't get complacent, man. Do not get complacent. And now I run into people that I was in high school with that used to judge me hard. Oh, Ryan, he's a drug addict. People would say that when I was in high school, and I don't remember a lot of other people that were called drug addicts at that time, but like I embraced it. I'm like, sounds fucking badass. There's so many cool drug addicts, and I'd like start naming them and they're all dead. I'm like, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. Tupac didn't die from drugs, so see, it's safe, And eventually it had taken a turn when I started dating that girl, Jill. And Jill was, as we had talked about, she was a coke dealer. That's how I met her. She had gone to my friend Orlando's house, and she picked me out of a yearbook. My friend's like, well, who do you want to fuck? She's like, that guy. He's like, I know that guy really well. You don't want to fuck him. He's got a small dick and he premature ejaculates, which I did. I was on a losing streak in high school. I don't know. I think opiates helped me eventually. But, and then I'd met her. I tried heroin. I get into it. And, my social circle had already changed big time when I got into coke. I used to hang out with this guy. His name was Mike. He wasn't a friend of mine, but I used to hang out with girls that hung out with him. This guy was like 20. He was obviously a chomo, hanging out with 15-year-old girls. But, none of us had cars, so like they'd want to hang out with me, and like this guy would pick us up. And there was this guy, kind of looked like a creepier version of Ryan Felipe. And eventually I think I'll tell some stories about him, but he was really weird, definitely a chomo, and would tell us that he was a cop. And he was definitely not a cop. He said, yeah, I got this gun right here. And he'd always have like, like what we thought was a Glock. And he like went into a McDonald's one time. We picked up, it was like a airsoft gun or something. We're like, what the fuck? This weird ass chomo. And we would smoke crack with him. So my social scene had changed pretty dramatically when I got into coke. I'm starting to hang out with people that do coke. And they're just different than people that don't do coke, People that do coke go to the pawn shop. People that do coke engage in risky behavior. People that do coke are people you shouldn't trust. So the people that I was hanging out with were just fucking losers like me. But I was doing the most. I was doing $100 a day, which is, I wear these headphones for hours and it makes my ears itch. By the way, in case you're wondering, we're 13 minutes into this. We had left on the cliffhanger last time of that guy Justin and how I'd caught him with child pornography and how we were planning on killing him with a brick at an abandoned house. I'm getting to that, but trust me, I know exactly how to explain this so that it'll make sense. So by the time I got into heroin, my social scene had really taken a turn for the worse. Like, if I was hanging out with losers before, I was hanging out with probably, I don't even know what's below a loser, but these were like the trashiest people ever. They'd wear like, Camel Cash windbreakers and shit like that. And I thought I was like, man, that shit's bomb. Where'd you get that? He's like, Camel Catalog. Traded 19,000 Camel Cash fucking vouchers in for this. I'm like, damn. I'm glad I smoked Camel. I'm trying to get me one of those windbreakers. That shit's dope. He's like, I'm already knowing. He's like 37, hanging out with high school kids. So those were like the kind of people that I was hanging out with. Okay, so where this is all going, even though I was getting into heroin, there was still a little bit of hijinks left, right? I mean, there were still situations that were, I guess, still kind of innocent and considered funny. One such situation that has to do with the dude that was into child pornography that we tried to kill. But this is important that you understand this because it plays a big part in this story, right? I was getting in a lot of trouble still at this point. And my parents had adopted that kid. He lived in the other room. I had my room. I had a car at the time. My parents would ground me if I got in trouble. Now, what kind of shit did I get in trouble for? All sorts of bad stuff. Stealing money from them, calling my mom a bitch. Probably worse than that, though. It's probably like, you fucking dumb cunt. But like the way that I talk to my mom, if Nico ever talks to Karina that way, I would probably slap him. He'd probably not, but he'd have to be like old enough to slap me back. Like 19 or something, But I would just talk to my mom really. I'm just kidding. I would never hit my son. And Karina would kill me if I ever did. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not abusive like that, even though my ex-wife used to be like, spank him. You are such a drug addict, spank him. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry, man, she's making me. So, but I don't believe in that at all, and I would not do that to my son. But my parents would ground me for a number of things, right? And I was always getting in trouble. I stayed getting in trouble from like 15 to like last week. I've just been a complete fuck up my entire life. This is the best I've ever done right now. I'm responsible. I work. I provide for my family, all of that. But up until recently, I've had a complete disregard for authority, including my own family. And so one particular time I'd been grounded. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard this. I don't think so. But I was grounded at the time, so I'm just like in my room. And my dad would do it in 3 phases. Take my television. That was like the first thing to go. He'd be like, oh yeah, fuck me. Fuck your cube-sized, your cubicle-shaped television. I'm going to take that and the VHS thing that's attached to it. What are you going to do then? I'm like, fuck. Nothing, and I just like stay in my room and do nothing. Just stare at the wall. I'd be like, oh, I'm so depressed. I wish I had TV. So that was like the first stage, right? Second, he would take my cell phone. And back then they had like these Nokias that you could play Snake on. I'm sure you remember those. And then the third stage, he would take my car. Car was important. Car, when you're the car guy in high school, I had a shitty 85 Volvo, but hey, at least I had a car. And so people would have me do car things all the time. And one particular thing that I did is I was just, hanging out at this place called Lodi Lane at the high school. One day, I had my car parked there. People go to this place called Lodi Lane. It was a place that you smoked cigarettes or smoked weed. Some guys fingered chicks there, One guy's like, dude, I fucking fingered Lacey's ass out here. I'm like, that's gnarly. In the daylight? He's like, yeah. Smelled like urine. I'm like, what the fuck? All right. So people would like, sexual conquest stuff, whatever. So one day I'm standing there and there's this guy named, I don't want to say his name. Let's just say his name is Beast. That was his street name, so to speak. That's what he was known for. Beast was like Biff from Back to the Future. He was the school bully for sure. And he was scary as fuck. He was going through like a skinhead phase. He wore like big black boots. Shaved head, kind of looked like Woody Harrelson, but like a way gnarlier one. And he had a horrible reputation. I met him when I was in elementary school because he didn't know how to read. He's like this big, even in elementary school, he's like some fucking 6'2" freak. He could have put on like a mustache and like probably bought beer in 6th grade, Put on like a little fake mustache and nose and just be like, yeah, I want 6-pack of Corona, so what? I'm like, okay. He looked like that. And because he couldn't read, I was kind of dorky back then, but I was also like the class clown type guy, and I skated. So with all of these things combined, the fact he couldn't read and that I could, and that I tutored him in it, he became friends with me in 6th grade, and I was one of his better friends. He hadn't become full-blown psychopath yet, but he kept getting bigger and bigger. It was like every time I saw him, he was like fucking I'm like, Jesus Christ. He looked like he was lifting weights. He was like 13. He's just, he was a mean guy. And back then we had AOL chat rooms. He had been talking to these two girls. They were like 20. He was like 14 or something, 13 years old. He had braces at the time. And they're like, you're cute. If you take your braces off, I'll have a threesome with you and take your virginity. There's some skin birds, these like female, like trashy skinhead girls. He goes to the garage, he takes pliers, he takes his own braces off. Fucking psycho. That was like the beginning of the legend, right? His dad was like an abusive alcoholic. He used to beat him pretty badly. You know, it was well known. And I'd go over to his house, and his dad was the cliche alcoholic. He'd like sit in the lazy chair, you know, with the Miller High Life or whatever, you know, and he's just, you know, can Miller High Life, and he's like or probably something even like Keystone or, is that what it's called? I've never even drinking shit that cheap. Natty Light is what we would drink back in high school, but he would sit on the lazy chair and he'd just be drinking alcohol, and we'd get there and he'd be like, God damn it, Beast. That wasn't his name, but it's his street name. God damn it, Beast. Got the fucking cable bill again. And he's like, well, Dad, I mean, you watch TV. That's your bill. I can't remember. I'm going to beat you up now. He'd be like, all right. And so then his dad would beat him up. And I saw it happen quite a few times. So anyway, what had happened is that this guy kept getting bigger. Bigger and bigger and bigger. And, like, now he's, like, scary. I mean, he looks like The Rock or something. Like, he has some insane, like, bodybuilder body. He's, like, 16. We're at this high school football game. So I'm 15. He was a year older than me. He's 16. We were in the same grade in 6th grade, and then I got held back. But anyway, I'm at this game. His dad shows up drunk to the game, waddling onto the field like, God damn it, Beast. The fucking cable bill came again, you know, and Beast got embarrassed, and there was an aluminum baseball bat, and he went and he broke his dad's back in front of everybody in the football stadium. I'm like, that guy's got an anger problem. Glad I taught him how to read, because he would literally back me up all the time back then. You know, I was one of those guys that I ran my mouth a lot, you know. If I was like trying to get a girl, I'd be like, hey, we should fuck this weekend. And she's like, I don't know, I'm gonna be fucking Bobby. Like, Bobby's a fag. You know, and then like Bobby would be like, it's not a fat. He'd be like some big, like crazy guy. And he'd, well, what'd you say? Let's go to the park. And then I just get beat up. And I got beat up quite a bit. And this guy would always save my ass. You know, people would be trying to beat me up at parties, and Beast would just be like, no, this is my homeboy right here. Like, he talked like Moses or something. Thought he was like some sort of like deity. Seriously, but just like, then he'd like evaporate into smoke. I'd be like, yeah, dude. Want to beat me up when I have skinhead deities that'll drop out of the sky and save me? Fuck you. And he saved me probably 6 or 7 times, where I was going to get my ass handed to me at a party, and he just kind of intervened. The incident where he had broken his dad's back with the baseball bat, he ended up getting sent to camp for it. And that's generally how it works. That's the trajectory when you get in trouble when you're a youth. You go to youth authority when you're really bad. And you want to talk about butt fucking? That is happening there in epic proportions. There's a butt fuck epidemic. If there was ever a place where I think that a sex riot could feasibly occur, it would be in a youth authority prison, because you have a bunch of horny kids that don't understand politics, and they're like, oh, I'm horny. Oh, I'm going to rape you. And that really doesn't happen in adult prison, not that I saw. But I heard that it happens all the time in youth authority, which is the, you know, youth prison. You go to juvenile hall first, which I made it to juvenile hall a couple times. But then if you go beyond that, you go to camp. They send you away to like a boot camp. Now, if you get kicked out of that, or you don't complete it, the next step is to go to YA, where you're most likely gonna get butt fucked. And that's it. There's not even another, that's it. It's, even someone like Beast would get butt fucked. 2 deities would hold him down, you know? And one of them would probably like be like, kiss me. He was like, oh, okay. And he's kissing. Okay. Anyway, so he ended up going to camp. And then I guess the last really crazy thing that had happened with him is when he got out of camp, there was this girl that owned a Jetta, you know, daddy's girl, rich girl that had a Jetta, and she was a little blonde bimbo that went around fucking everyone. I never fucked her. It's weird because we were talking like 3 or 4 years ago, and it was going in that direction for sure. And then I don't remember what happened. I don't remember. I want to say that the guy that was living with me back then, my brother, cockblocked that. That's a whole nother thing, whole nother series for down the line. But she's driving around with Beast in this Jetta. They're in this rich part of Santa Barbara called Montecito. They run into Beast at the gas station. And there's this guy that's there. His name is, let's just call him Brandon. And he's actually, if you've read Wasting Talent, the scene where they stick the ice cubes up Chad's asshole, but it's the big kind. It's like the big square, it's the big square ice cubes instead of like the crushed up ones. I'm talking about Bryce, I think his name is Bryce. I don't know. It's the same guy. God damn, dude. This shit is fucking, I gotta clean my nose. And we gotta do a little snuff inner cut right now. Shit's fucking, no wonder my stuff's all fucked up all the time. It hurts. Karina's doing stuff all the time too. We got like all these different flavors and stuff now. So the guy that had gotten his asshole ripped open, that the character Chad was based off of, that guy happened to be at this gas station. Beast was with this girl that was in the Jetta. And what happens is this guy, it was like Bryce or Bryson, I think is his name. He pulled a knife out on Beast, and Beast was not cool with that. So he ends up having this girl that had the Jetta back up and hit this kid, the one that had gotten his asshole ripped open. I think his name was Bryce. And she hit him, probably going like 40 miles an hour. He flies up on the hood of the car. Beast gets out, gets a skateboard, and starts smashing this guy's face in, knocks all of his teeth out. That is a thing that actually happened in Santa Barbara, and it is somewhat of folklore, but that is a thing that Beast did, just to give you an idea of who this guy was. So that one day, while I'm driving, before we go up to kill the Chomo up in the mountains, just leading up to all that, I run into him at Lodi Lane. And like I said, I'm smoking a cigarette. Same place that my friend fingered a chick in the ass, which is true. I don't know why you would, dude, what do you want to do? I don't know. Let's make out. Can we finger? Okay. What about your ass? Oh, I don't know. That sounds pretty hardcore. Huh. What if I am hardcore? And it just like breaks into anal fingering or whatever. So I'm standing there out at Lodi Lane. Beast comes up and he's like, hey, can you give me a ride somewhere? If you give me a ride somewhere, I'll give you a pound of weed right now. I was like, let's go. We jump into my Volvo. Now at this point, he'd gotten out of camp, that he had already knocked the guy's teeth out with the skateboard. That's what the level that our high school bullies were on. It wasn't Biff, like, hey, McFly. It wasn't that kind of shit. It's him knocking motherfuckers' teeth out with the skateboard. Crazy shit. And then years later, he ended up getting stabbed with a butcher knife at a 49ers game in a press box. And now he just caught a big case. He's going to prison for a long time. That's someone we can definitely get into at a later time. But he, at this point, we're like, you know, he's saving me once in a while when I'm getting into conflicts at parties or whatever. Like I said, like he will like intervene for me. Oh my God. Woo! Just so you know, I'm actually snorting tobacco. If you can see it. Yeah. I know. I have a problem. Like this kind of shit right here. It's all different flavors and everything. But, okay. So, well, shit's crazy. You actually get like lightheaded from snorting tobacco because it's like so intense. So he asked me to drive on this mission. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm back now. He ends up having me just drive to his house and he tells me he's giving me a pound of weed. I don't know what for. I don't even care. The guy's fucking name is Beast. I'm scared of him, to be honest with you. I'm a bitch. I'm like, dude, this guy could totally knock me out and rape me right now. That would suck. Fucking listening to Sublime. It's all melodic. I'm like, man, this fucking hurts, man. Stop. And he's like humming to the shit. So I took him to where he needed to go. He ends up going into some house. Now we're up in like the hills in Santa Barbara. We're in a very nice upscale area. And he comes back and he's happy as all hell. You know, he's like, oh my God. He's like shaking me. He's like, he used to call me Loner. That was my nickname. Loner. I don't know why. Because he called me Ryan Loney. He couldn't pronounce my name. Called me Loney. And then I was like a perverted guy. Boner. Loner. Pretty clever. If I must say. I mean, the dude's got skills. Shocked he's going to prison right now. That guy, yeah, we'll get into more of him in a little bit. But he basically shaking me. He's telling me that we're rich now. He's like, come with me. Come check this out. So I go into this house, and there's weed everywhere. I mean, the entire house is blown up with weed. This is in like 2002. You know, it wasn't that common to see an entire big, like 5-bedroom house completely fucking full of plants. And he just starts ripping them all out of the hydroponic systems. And there's a bunch of buds. We're bringing all these plants into my car. We're going back and forth. We have trash bags. He ends up getting, I think, like, I don't know, 50 pounds, something like that. He gives me a pound to shake. I think it was a pound to trim. I don't even think it was shake. But I was stoked on life. I was like, oh my God, a pound of weed? You know, at that time I was selling coke, but I'd never had a pound of weed to myself. It was like, it was the best. You know, people would come over to my parents' house. We'd make gravity bongs out of, the sparklet, like out of the water, big water jugs, and we put them in the pool, and we just take fat gravity bong rips with this trim. It seemed to last forever. We'd play poker and smoke this shit, and it was just amazing. That guy, Beast, from that house that he robbed, that grow operation that I was like an accomplice in, that I didn't even really understand the gravity of the situation, but he stole a shitload. That guy, back in 2002, when he stole that, from that point forward, he became a major, major, major force in marijuana, selling hundreds of pounds at a time, 600-700 pounds of like high quality chronic, $4,000 a pound, shit like that, big boy shit. He just got caught with like 100,000 grams of wax. That's what he's going to prison for. I mean, this dude, all funded from this one lick that he pulled back in 2002. I was there. All I got was this t-shirt. No, I got that pound of shake and I was really stoked on it. Okay, so that's Beast. We got him out of the way, right? Remember him. Now, back to me getting grounded and how this all relates to the main story. I don't remember what, but I'd gotten grounded for something. First, my TV got taken, and then my phone got I'm like, no snake? Fuck you, Dad. I'm getting a mohawk, you know? Whatever, being a punk-ass little teenager. And then my phone got taken, you know, and then my car. So, TV, phone, car. Oh, you're an asshole, Dad. You know, I was like the classic Southern California skater kid that you just want to fucking strangle. Like, you know, if I could see footage of me from back then acting the way that I know that I did to my dad, I would want to fucking kill me. I was such a punk ass kid. So I'm just at my house. You know, the dude what's fucked up is the guy, my best friend at the time, who my parents adopted, He's like, hey, man, I'm going to a party later. I was like, where's the solidarity, man? Fuck it. So I just, stayed home. So he comes back about an hour later. He's like, hey, man, the kegger that I'm at is right down the street. Like, it's a block away from here. You should go to it. See if your dad will let you. Sorry. Fucking boogers and shit. That's what happens when you got this, like, cakes in your nose. He goes, I know what you're thinking, but you're wrong. You're wrong. It's a block away and I could have snuck into this place, right? But instead, I decide to ask my dad permission. I'm like, Dad, I was thinking about just going to this party that's a block away, but I thought about it. Lying's wrong. I just thought maybe if I played it straight with you, you'd let me go to the party. My dad's weird. He's bipolar. Sometimes he'd be like, wow, Ryan, you're a great guy. Here's $1,000 on top. Sometimes he'd just be a weirdo and just be like, no, fuck you. And you're donating plasma tomorrow. Mom needs her hair done. I'm like, Dad, what do you mean? The fuck? You're not paycheck to paycheck. What are you talking about? Go. Oh, all right. Whatever, Dad. And then sometimes he's just like fair about it, right? And he was this time. He's like, yeah, you can go to the party. You've been good. Even though I was grounded, he's like, it's a block away, but you have to be home at midnight. All right, no problem. And I don't know if I've told this story before, but it's a classic. So I end up going with my dad. I end up going with this guy that's living with me. We walk a block away and we go to this party. Cracking. My parents live up in the Riviera in Santa Barbara. It's a pretty nice house where this party's at. I don't know the guy. He's a senior in high school. I'm a freshman. No, I'm a junior. I'm a junior at this point. I'm 17. So I'm a junior. He's a senior, but I don't know the guy. Having a kegger. I mean, that's what you do when you're in high school, right? Like, you guys go to the liquor store, you buy a keg, you put it at someone's house whose parents are out of town, and you guys just rage it, and that's it. So I end up going to this place. It's probably like 10 at night, and I run into this girl, and this girl, we'll call her Cindy, just for the sake of the story. I try to think of the most generic slut that I could. So for all you Cindys out there, I apologize. That's what I think of you and your name. I run into this girl, right? And this particular girl was like one of those girls that was good looking. Everybody fucked her. Everybody. Like the school bus driver's like, I'd hit that. I don't care. 70. So what? Fuck you. Donate plasma. And I'm like, oh, you too? I don't know if the bus driver hit it, but really, she was like one of those hot girls that everybody fucked. I don't know. Just once in a while, a community is blessed with something like that. It's like some designated town slut. And you're just like, no effort and we can have sex? She's like, yeah. And like, this girl was really good looking. But anyway, for some reason, she like loved me in high school. Like, she was a year younger than me. So she was probably a sophomore, I want to say. Sophomore and I was a junior. And I'd had sex with her a bunch of times. And I'm at this party and I'm kind of like thinking, well, I got to be home by midnight because I don't want to fuck up my dad's trust. I'm grounded. I'm at the point where I'm like, if I just can prove to him that I'm responsible, maybe he'll take me off the grounding and I won't have to, sit in my dark room and just try out different math equations in my mind, whatever I did at that age. So I go talk to her. And she's drunk, and I'm like, I do my infamous line that I always did when I was trying to have sex with women and or girls when I was in high school. I was like, hey, you want to go for a walk? And she's like, okay. She's wasted. I'm not that drunk, I'm like, whatever, I'm drinking, but I'm not drunk like she is. She's fucking shit-faced. And this girl, by the way, married to some like Egyptian prince now, some like billionaire. He has no idea the destructive sluttiness that had occurred in Santa Barbara all these years ago now. But I talk her into going into this room with me. Right when we get in there, Beast, the guy from the other story, and like two of the other like school bullies. This was like the UN of school bullies. Like, you rarely saw these three together. They were like the three meanest assholes from our high school. They were all in one place and they were just in this room together. To this day, I can't tell you what they were doing, but they see me and they see me kind of like ushering this drunk girl, Cindy, into the room. So they hide in the closet. And I see them and they're like, shh, they like want to watch. In retrospect, that's weird. If any of you are watching that, it's fucking weird. I don't care if you can beat me up. You guys are fucking weirdos. I guess they wanted to watch. So I'm like, now I know there's like an audience. And I'm like, it was very like, you know, the movie Kids-esque. I'm like, hey, trying to have sex? She's like, I mean, I would, but I'm on my period. And I was like, well, is your mouth bleeding? And she's like, no. I was like, well, guess you should give me a blowjob then. She's like, okay, I love you. I was like, yeah, I like you a lot too. So she ends up doing that for me. Fellatio. Just going slow. And like, I've never been a head guy. I mean, I like it, I guess, but really I'm the kind of guy that just want to get into the main event, you know? I have shit to do. I have to check the cryptocurrency exchange markets or whatever. But with that being said, I go down on women, so I expect to be gone down on in return, whatever. But I think my philosophy back then, who knows what it was, but she's giving me head. I was like, this is boring. She's going slow. I have to be back. Like now time has lapsed, right? Time is going by, and I'm like looking at, I don't know, my watch or the digital clock or whatever. I have like 10 minutes to get home now. No idea how time had gotten, had like slipped through the cracks or whatever. So I remember, and look, I'm not advocating to objectify women, but I did then, so whatever. That's what happened. So I just kind of roll over and I fuck her face. I know that sounds very graphic and lewd. It is. I'm a piece of shit. I'm probably going to stay up all night thinking about what I did, and I'm sorry. But I did. And I end up coming. You know, that's what happens at the end, right? I end up coming at the end. And you hear like these giggles in the closet, fucking weird ass dudes. And I like forgot they were in there. And then I run out of there. You know? And my dad is sitting in his Volvo, parked in front of the party. He's in his tighty whities and a t-shirt, and he has our yellow lab in the back. And like all these people are laughing at me, and I leave. Now this is what happens though. That girl, Cindy, when I came on her face. It webbed out. Cum shot. Money shot. She was so drunk that she didn't wipe it off. So she had some just like chilling on her face. And I guess she walked around the rest of the party and she had my jizz all over her face. And people snapped pictures of her. It became a fucking scandal. You know, the next day I heard about it. They're like, man, came on Cindy's face and let her just walk around a party. I want to give you $5. I'm like, all right, let me get that. And, I don't know. It was a big deal. You know how shit like that goes. It was a scandal in high school. So what ends up happening is her dad figures out who I am because she becomes known as this, like, you know, this cum guzzling, cum face, if that makes sense. And her dad's not having it. Well, who's responsible for this? Ryan Leone. It's Leone, sir. And I guess he's like, really, he's like after me, right? At one time, I'd gone over to her house, because I had a car. So it's very common back in those days, even though I was, dating Jillian at the time. Or maybe it was before her. I don't think I cheated on her. But I remember I used to go over to Cindy's house, and one time her dad had caught me. This guy was a psychopath, you know, and he knew who I was. He chased me down the street. You know, I was in her bedroom sleeping. I'd like passed out. I wake up to her screaming. They're arguing. I look up at him. He's like, there he is. This is after the cum incident. And I'm just like, fuck. And I sprang up. I'm like in boxers, like just grabbed my clothes scrunched up and I run down the street and I got away from him. The first time that had happened, when I snuck into her room at like 11 at night on a school night or whatever it was. She's a year younger than me. So she was like 16 when I was 17, something like that. So I'm not on any weirdo shit, just for any of you weirdos thinking weirdo shit. So with that being said, so you know who Beast is, you know who Cindy is. This particular night, we had gone up to this party. This party was at this abandoned house. And this is a house that we frequented. You know, like I said, the way that the musical chairs of keg parties worked in high school is somebody's parents were out of town. We went there for the weekend. And then next weekend, it's someone else's parents or the next night. And we just, you know, Santa Barbara, there were big houses and we were all partying, you know, and we'd go to, you know, that's just a huge part of the culture there. It's like going to keg parties and like big mansions or whatever. And it was a lot of fun. But this particular abandoned property was one of these places where the electricity still worked. It was weird because it was obvious that somebody had lived there at some point, but that it was abandoned. And we partied there all the time. We never got caught there. I probably went to 50 parties at this place. It was called the Abandoned Botanical Gardens Mansion. And I don't remember what happened in that place, but this particular night, as I went over in the cliffhanger, and I'm sure there's people that are going to be like, you fucking waited until the end of the video to keep, you know, the cliffhanger going or whatever. But I thought it was important that you know the backstory of Cindy and Beast. So the whole plan, for some reason, was to take fake ecstasy, make this dude think that, I think maybe that's how we had to incentivize him to stay there. I don't remember why that was part of the plan, but we gave him these like fake PMS medications. Now, it was me, the guy that was living with me, we'll call him Poppius, Cindy, Beast, Justin, who's the child pornography guy, and then there's this other guy there. And then there's one more. I don't know. There's a group of us there. Oh, and there was another girl. I forget who that was. Someone I don't even remember that person's name, but she was there. So everybody that's there, we all kind of like know what the plan is. And someone was like, this sounds like Bully. It was kind of like Bully, you know? And that movie, by the way, had just come out. Maybe that had gotten into our heads somehow. But after the party wrapped up, and I'm pretty sure that is the reason that we did the fake ecstasy, because I think we needed to like give this guy Justin a reason to stay, and these two girls were like the bait or whatever. And then the whole plan, now that it's like a small contained group of people, we're gonna hit him with a big brick, crack his skull open, let this piece of shit bleed to death. Right here, child pornography, that's something that we cannot excuse. So we take the ecstasy, and the whole plan, of course, is that Beast is going to do this, right? He's the gnarly one. He's the one that's going to hit him with the brick. We take the fake ecstasy. Everybody leaves. And we all had made the plan that we were going to act like, you know, it kicked in or whatever. So we all, like, I'm like, man, do you feel it? And my friend's like, man, I feel it hard, man. I'm trying to get massaged. I'm like kind of looking at him. I'm like, this is, wow, man. You're really playing the part right now. I'm not going to massage you when we're on bunk ecstasy. But, you know, everybody started acting like they were feeling it. So this guy's like, man, you know, I'm not feeling anything. I'm like, well, smoke a blunt. You know, sometimes when you smoke weed and you're rolling, it kind of like activates it to some degree. And he's like, yeah, that's good thinking. I'm just looking at him like, you fucking chomo. I want to kill you. We all wanted to. So we end up going in the backyard and we roll up this blunt. We start hitting it. And I remember there were like these like outside patio chairs. We were sitting on them, and he was sitting on one, I was sitting on another. I think that Cindy was sitting in my lap, something like that. We were all acting like we were rolling. None of us were. And what we did is, we smoked the blunt. He's sitting there hitting it on the chair. Now, while he's doing this, Beast goes out to like where the bricks were. So there were like these loose bricks. It looked like there was like a project that had been started in the backyard and it wasn't finished. And we knew this beforehand because we had been at this place like literally 50 fucking times before this. So the plan the whole time was to get him in the backyard. So now that we were actually in the backyard, Beast goes off and he gets the brick. Now, Justin was sitting on the chair where his back was to Beast. So I'm like sitting in the chair and Cindy was on my lap. And we're looking at Beast, or at Justin, who's sitting there. We wait for him to hit the blunt. Beast comes up, he gets the brick, and he just fucking goes down, hits him incredibly hard with it. Hard to the point where he starts bleeding, but it's so deep that it takes a few seconds. It takes probably like 20 seconds to start bleeding. And this is after he was hit and fell to the ground. I couldn't believe that he actually did it. And, furthermore, we were smoking weed, and I've never responded well to weed. I always get like insecure. It always amplifies my paranoia. I'd never seen a guy get hit with a brick before, but it's like not the kind of thing that makes that situation any less awkward than it already is. And he falls, right? So he hit him. Dude falls over and he's completely listless. Now we're all surrounding him and we're looking at him and everyone's like, fuck, I think he's dead. He's twitching a little bit, like stuff that we have been conditioned in like horror films to think would happen if somebody actually got hit with that kind of like blunt trauma. This guy hit him in the head with a brick, falls over. And like I said, it took about 20 seconds probably to start bleeding. And now there's a lot of blood. And I remember, I'd already seen a kid get his wrist slit when I was at those programs. I saw girls cut their muscle out with sharpened, metal part of an eraser. But I'd never seen something quite this brutal before. And I remember it like gave me this like sinking feeling in my stomach. Like I felt a pit, it was almost like palpable disgust, and I got like nauseous. And I remember this other kid that was with us, he was pretty drunk when this had happened. This is the guy that lived with me. He actually did puke. So we're kind of like sitting, like as soon as he puked, the girls are like, that's going to be DNA evidence. We hadn't even thought of stuff like that. That's how we barely planned this thing out. And, it was the kind of thing where we all, I think, started freaking out a little bit. And we're trying to figure out what to do because we are definitely convinced that he's dead. For sure. Like he gets hit. You got to realize like how hard this guy had hit him. Like Beast hit him hard. I saw a child molester get killed when I was in prison because someone hit him with a large size rock. And I don't know. I want to say that Beast hit this guy harder. The difference is that the guy that got hit in prison was an old man. And this guy, Justin, was, 15 years old, 16 years old, whatever it was, 17 probably. And so we're all kind of like trying to figure out what to do. We're making like this hasty plan, First thing that we definitely have to do is we have to clean the place for DNA, like one of the girls is talking about. She's absolutely right. We didn't have cleaning supplies. We didn't have anything. Our whole plan was just to hit him with a brick and then fucking leave him there. But they had a good point. Like, the dude that lived with me, Poppius, had thrown up there. So we're freaking out about it. And we kind of like come to this plan that we're going to go to my parents' house, grab cleaning supplies and come back. Like I'm just going to go in there and grab like a bunch of pine sol, whatever. And we'll come back and we'll kind of clean the place up a little bit. We'll move his body like further out into the wilderness. The dude is into child pornography. Like we did not feel bad about doing this. So as we are kind of like making our way, to leave this property and go up to my parents' house, this dude starts moving, starts regaining consciousness a bit. And he got hit hard. I couldn't believe that didn't kill him. Like, if you had seen how hard he got hit and how much blood came out of his head, like, it fucking cracked his skull open. We thought for sure that he would die. Now, at this point, Beast was the first person to take off. He had his own car, and he just left. So we were left at this place waiting to go to my parents' house without Beast, you know, and we were happy that he was gone because the psychopath had just hit someone with a fucking brick. So he had already left. Now, Justin is regaining consciousness very slowly but surely. And I remember how horrific it was. Like, he put his hand up to his face and blood was like, you know, kind of like splintering through and rolling down his arm. And he was just like, why did he do that to me? And he's like crying, and I'm like, oh my God. You know, why did he hit it? I'm really hurt. I'm really hurt. And he kept saying shit like that. And I was like, God, Jesus. Like, I mean, I don't know how much of a bitch I would sound like if I got hit by a brick, but I know that guy sounds like a total fucking bitch, you know? And I remember it freaked me out for sure. I think it freaked the other people out, but the guy that I lived with, Poppies, he was so wasted. Like, he didn't really count as a person. We had another friend there, and then we had the girls. We didn't know what to do because now Beast had left. I mean, like, he was like I said, he was the first to go. And the plan past that was that we were just going to clean up because the dude that I lived with had thrown up, et cetera, et cetera. We'd thrown cigarettes. We'd seen, like, on TV shows how they could, like, find filters with DNA on it. But it didn't even matter now because now we had a bigger problem to deal with, that the guy was not dead. You know, we had to hit him again. And it's not going to be the dude that I live with, my roommate, Poppius, because he's too wasted. So it's going to be between me and this other guy. And so we're kind of arguing, you know. And he's like, he's like, you're the one that caught him at your house. I'm like, well, dude, I don't know. And like, this guy Justin's looking at him, why did you say I'm really hurt, guys? And like, we're like just having an open dialogue about who's going to kill him right in front of him. And I'm like kind of arguing. I'm like making my point. I'm like, dude, I have poetry published. I actually have a future. The guy's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? I was like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get out of it. So none of us wanted to do it. Girls certainly weren't going to do it. But we knew that now we were in a really bad situation because now he could go to the police and we could be charged with attempted murder because he's getting away with it. So we have to kill this motherfucker. That's the only decision that we have. And, you know, I end up going, like, walking with Cindy to the front of the house because I think me and this other guy had started arguing to the point where, like, I just needed space. There was some reason why I had gone with her to the front of the house. There's this long gravel driveway. And I remember I was smoking a cigarette with her, probably a Camel, trying to, like, accumulate my Camel cash. And her and I were talking about the fact that we're kind of, like, weighing how much trouble we could be in. And I'm like, dude, Beast hit the guy with the fucking brick. He didn't die. The guy heard us talking about how we were trying to kill him. We'll be charged with attempted murder. I don't know how long that is, but it doesn't sound good. Attempted murder, they'd probably give you life for that. As we're talking, headlights pull in to this house. Freaked us the fuck out. So we, like, dive out of the way, you know? And, of course, I think cops. And now I'm just like, it's crazy when you've done something really, really bad like that. Like, even though I was a teenager, I was 17 years old, I'm doing drugs, I still, like, when it comes to murder, like, very, like, serious acts of violence like this, and then you think cops come, it's almost that sensation that they talk about when someone's about to die, or that they think they're about to die and their entire life flashes before their eyes. That's how I felt at that moment, thinking that it was police. And it turns out being worse than that. Lights shut off, and you just hear, Cindy! Cindy! And she's like, oh my God, it's my dad. And I'm like, how the fuck does he know where we are? And she's like, I think it was so-and-so, and it was the other girl that we had been there with, because this guy, I guess he had dropped them off. Like, usually when we went to this house, we'd have, like, if we if we weren't driving there ourselves, like if somebody's parents were dropping us off there, we'd always have them take us down the street. But she was saying that it was probably her friend that had like told him where they were because maybe she was scared because this dude got hit with a brick. So now this guy's screaming her name and he's like, God damn it, Cindy, where are you? I know you're with him. And he's talking about me for sure. I was like, this guy's like greatest enemy because I'd come on his fucking princess daughter's face, and now he's looking for me. And so now we have this psychopath looking for us. Beast had left, and we have this guy who got hit in the fucking face with a brick who's bleeding bad. Like, I don't know if this guy's going to bleed to death. It certainly looks like that. And now these two problems are colliding. I got Cindy's dad, I don't know if he knows. I don't know why he's at this particular place. It's a big deal that he showed up there because somebody would have had to tell him specifically where we were. Now we also have this other guy, Justin, to deal with, and he's like bleeding to death. And we will get into what happens next in this saga, this crazy fucking juvenile delinquency shit. This particular story is one of my better ones, and I've been saving it for a while. But anyway, we'll get into it on the next video. And I am going to finish Sentinella. I just wasn't in the mood to do that tonight. So I apologize. I just wanted to get you guys something. Palabra.